Tamar, I believe this is your fifth 1 million cups as well, right?
Oh my gosh.
So you know what that means is you and Tina and Carrie, I don't know, this is your fourth or fifth, but good morning, Carrie. Good to see you again. But for those of you who have joined us 5 times in a row, you get one of these very attractive 1 million cups travel mugs. Our presenters, Sajjan and Patrick, will get regular coffee mugs for presenting today. Yes, yay. I see Carrie's comment in the chat. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We are going to go ahead and kick it over to Jonathan Wheatman. And Jonathan will go over the 1 million cups core principles and tell you more about why we do what we do.
Good morning, everyone. Happy to do it. Get our screen up here. All right, we good? We see it? How about that? All right, well, good morning. As all our regulars know, we have some rules of the road here, and I'm going to take just a couple of minutes to go over the core program and the pillars of 1 million cups. And we always start with the mission, and that is to lower the barrier for access to education, resources, and connections for entrepreneurs. And to my mind, all those words are important, but the connections word is uber important. That's what we're here to do. So without the pillars in the core program, the mission does not get accomplished. We know that there's a format and there's a way that we do it, and there's a regimen that we stick to. But the important thing, the pillars, these are presentations, not pitches. One thing that really attracted me to 1 million cups at the beginning is it's a kind of a unique opportunity for our presenters to show, and I actually use the word vulnerability. I think that's the right word. We're so used to doing elevator pitches and speeches and talking to investors and downplaying the weaknesses and upplaying our strengths. This is a chance for our presenters to talk honestly and frankly about where they are versus where they want to be, and for the rest of us to see what we can do to help them get to where they want to be. So it's for connections. It's not networking. We're not here to sell. We're not here to pitch. The culture is for the community, by the community. Obviously, the better each business does, the better we all do. Nobody owns 1 million cups Westminster. Nobody's paid to do 1 million cups Westminster. And we're, as it says, radically, and I can't see it because of the way I have this set up, but it's inclusive and everyone's invited. I know what it says under the pictures. So that's important as well. So the core program design is we are here almost every Wednesday. Last week before Thanksgiving, I think the only exception for a while. 9 a.m. is the start time. We know that. 2 presenters have to be less than 5 years old and willing to ask for help. And we always end with the question, what can we do for you? And that's a community for the community part. So that's what we're all about. 1 million cups Westminster. The organizing team is here. By this time, we've been through it a bunch of weeks. So Graham and Russ and Val and me and Mick and Julius and Andrew, happy to help.
Thank you very much, John. And yep, thank you for that. I've also just put in the chat box, once again, thank you to our sponsor, Furnace Hills Coffee, who has generously provided a 25% off discount code for all their online coffee orders to people who are here with us today. So you go to furnacehillscoffee.com, use the discount code 1MC Westminster, and you'll get 25% off your entire order. And then, of course, thank you to my organization, Magic, for hosting and being a community sponsor. Tomorrow, I see your comment. Don't worry, we will ship it. Magic will pay to ship this to you. You don't have to come and get it. So, and for those of you who are new or returning, again, real quick, you attend 5 of these in a row, you get one of these nice 1 million cups travel mugs, and all of our presenters get a 1 million cups coffee mug. So without further ado, I will go ahead. Oh, and please go ahead. Feel free to network in the chat box there. You can, share your LinkedIn profiles there for people to see, introduce yourselves. Please mute while we are hearing from the presenters. After 6 minutes of presentation, we'll do a 20-minute Q&A, so you have plenty of time for questions. and we'll ask you to post your questions in the chat box as well. And you may hear some dinging as more people join the call as the call goes on. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Sajun Yun from Predictiv. Sajun, if you're there, go ahead and share your screen and take it away.
Yeah, hi, I'm Sajun. Yeah, Predictiv is DNA-based digital twin that is digital copy of yourself to predict and prevent diseases and adverse drug reactions. I'm Sajun, CEO and co-founder of Predictiv, and also as a side job, I'm teaching at Johns Hopkins. So I got the PhD in biomedical sciences, then went to NIH to do the CRISPR-Cas9 research in genomics, genetic engineering for 5 years. And then for the recent 4 years, I've been teaching genome analysis course at Johns Hopkins. So, let me talk about the beginning of the company. About 7 years ago, my father suffered rare cancer. The incidence was 10 in 1 million people. So it was pretty impossible to guess. So a few years later, my identical twin brother, Sijung, and I analyzed his DNA and found out it could have been predicted and prevented. So we wanted to open this opportunity to other people. So that's the beginning of the company. In statistics, 58 million people die every year from a serious disease or fatal disease. But 10% of these people should have not died from it because, according to NIH, this cancer could have been predicted and prevented. So that's the population we want to address. We want to reduce the mortality in the 10% of serious diseases they're not supposed to die. The logic is similar to Minority Report of Tom Cruise movie. He know crime's gonna happen and then he go there to prevent those crimes. So in our case, we predict diseases to prevent them. Or if we cannot prevent the disease, at least we reduce the impact of the diseases. How do we do this? By analyzing 20,000 genes all the humans have, and we cross-reference to the 16,000 diseases, and we simulate your body reaction to 300 drugs. It's a real-time searchable database, not just PDF, and our digital twin evolves over time as science improves. You may heard 23andMe and Invitae. The difference between 23andMe, Invitae, and us is just like Yahoo and Google. I mean, about 25 years ago, Yahoo was pretty popular, and everybody has to register their website and write whatever relevant stuff. That's like 23andMe and Invitae. You have to register each gene variant for specific diseases. That's why they have a limited number of genes and diseases they are checking. The way we do is different, just like Google. Google basically indexed everything on the web possible, and then they offer the search engine optimized for it. So what we are doing is we analyze the 100% of known diseases and 100% of the gene variants humans have. We put it into, feed it into the genomics pipeline, and we utilize the AI engine we developed and validated through the recent COVID-19 AI challenge. The business model is that we sell this at $490 to the healthcare professionals, hospitals, and governments. Also, we are preparing the B2C as well, but B2B is our main focus. And sequencing cost is extra, usually $300 to $500 for the whole genome or exome sequencing. And we also could use the 23andMe data. Our team, I'm Sajung, and I developed with Sijung, my identical twin brother. He is also faculty at Hopkins and also faculty at NIH graduate school teaching next generation sequencing. We've been developing this for the last 4 years. and we recruited 4 Hopkins scientists to do this. And we needed help on the business side, so Alex is helping the business side. He had a two successful exits, one in 25 months, and he deployed to the 8 countries and 160,000 users. So he knows how to grow the company, and also he used to be a partner in KPMG and deal and advisory, and he used to be a head of an accelerator, which he exited as well, successfully exited. Also, we got Alexander Brasford, he's a CTO, full stack developer. And so Alexander and me are full-time. And Mailani is MD physician with bioinformatics training from Hopkins. So today we have 4 years of development, and we filed 2 provisional patents. And genomics pipeline, we already almost fully automated, and then AI engine part will validate it from the COVID-19 FDA challenge by FDA. And we are raising $250K to improve the UI UX, finalize new partnerships, and launch and run the pilot. And let me just show you the brief demo of our platform. It's going to be really quick.
And you have 1 minute, or a little less than a minute.
Sure. Okay, thanks. So when people are healthy before developing any signs and symptoms, like currently we order the test like this, but what we can do is like this test. What we can do is in our platform. So we go to the demo, and this is physicians. And for example, if you type the CFTR 65 is $2,000 test is coming out within 3 seconds. Zellweger syndrome, another $3,000 test is coming out. Anything you can just test it. Ataxia. So that's the first thing. And when they don't have any signs and symptoms, we provide the inborn disease risk panel. And second, so the point is that we provide the inborn disease risk to prevent the future diseases. And secondly, when people have early signs and symptoms, so let's say one patient came with a chip complaint of hypermobile joint and stretchy skin, we just go to the diseases panel and joint hypermobility. So joint hypermobility, this person has the genetic mutation, collagen gene mutation, is associated with Ehlers-Danlos and Marfan syndrome with our predictive score. So you can see science and current chip complaint-based diagnosis. So the second point is that we can, in real time, for more accurate diagnosis, we can provide the most relevant genetic information. And the last point is that when people take medications, what we have done was we put it into our database, tamoxifen, and this polymorphism is associated adverse reaction. So what we have done is we just put it in there. So if you you have a high cholesterol and then you wanna take the cholesterol, if this person has a genetic mutation and then there is a conflict, so it's better not to take it. And if you wanna check out the literature, the scientific evidence, here you go. So you can just check the publication record. So in conclusion, so we simulate the drug's effect before making medications to avoid the malpractice. So what we are doing is to reduce the mortality. We are providing the predictive medicine platform to the world by the form of digital twin. Thank you.
Excellent work, Sajan. Thank you very much. We were all clapping here, even though you can't hear it. You can either end sharing your screen unless you want to get back to some of your demonstration points while we're doing the Q&A. Feel free to go back and forth if you need to. So our first question is from Tamar Osterman from Maryland Economic Development. She asks, how do you address the privacy issues related to this?
That's an excellent question. Yeah, let me pull up that slide. I prepared a slide.
And while you're preparing that, she also asked, are you connected to TEDCO? Have you talked to TEDCO yet?
Yeah, I talked to TEDCO, yes, but we didn't do actively search. Yeah, I had a talk with Frank Gruber. Yeah, but we didn't apply anything yet. Let me just pull out the privacy slide. Okay, here we go. Let me share my screen. So I think two things, data security and privacy is very important. What we are doing is the two-factor authentication, and then we are not selling data to the, like a 23andMe, they sell the customer's data, right? But we are not doing that. The reason is we are providing the whole genome sequencing information, and which is 3 billion base pair, 3 billion data points. And even though you do any anonymize it, it's not possible to do it. I mean, so you can always identify. So and that's a privacy concern. And we are category 2 software as a medical device, and we are following these guidelines to protect the security and privacy of our customers.
Okay, great, thank you. Christopher College from TCP Venture Capital asks, how are you different than other companies that are doing full gene sequencing?
Oh, that's an excellent question. So let me share the competitor analysis. So for example, Nebula has the do the full genome sequencing. They make a 200 report, and then they don't analyze the drugs, and it's not a real time. They have a more like an investigation platform, and we are more like real time genetics-based clinical decision support system. So that's we are totally different, addressing the problem. And then, of course, they have a blockchain-based privacy and weekly expansion of reports, but we're not making the report. We are providing the real-time searchable database. So in that sense, we are very different from Nebula, who are doing the whole genome sequencing. And yeah, some other companies, yeah, I think that's the main difference. And Sophia Genetics, I think they do some of the full genome sequencing as well. And they usually provide like specific like cardiac diseases and solid tumors, those things. But our system is capable of doing anything, any field. Yeah, that's the difference.
And to just sort of based off of that question, do you consider yourself more of a data analysis prediction company as opposed to like a biotech company?
We are digital twin company because we believe the future of medicine. I mean, nowadays we are talking about fourth industrial revolution, right? That's the Internet of the Things. Then what will be the next? Will be the intelligent of the things, where AI engine is used. By the way, I'll get back to our AI engine part. And then what will be the next after intelligent of the things? Then I believe intelligent of things appear in the reality. So combining the reality with the intelligent of things will be the next. And we believe digital twin could be one of the most effective form. That's why we chose digital twin. So yeah, that's the direction we are heading to.
Thank you. Carrie Pierce, who is a health coach at Flip Yours Fitness and Wellness. Hope I got that right, Carrie. She asks, could you please clarify the pricing, testing, and software usage? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we charge $490, and let me put it on that slide for now. So we put, we charge only $500, and then we have tested with a 20 patient in the Falls Church, Virginia, last year, and physician marked up the price. And so physician can mark up whatever they want. And the reason we separately charge from our platform from the sequencing cost is that hospitals, they already have the sequencing capability. So it's not fair for us to charge those. And also government biobanks, they sequence, one of our business partner target is biobanks. For example, we became a commercial partner of UK Genomics England, where they sequenced already 100,000 people, and they are planning to sequence 5 million people by 2025. And they don't need any sequencing. The sequencing is done already, so we are just charging our part. And yeah, I think that's about it. Do you have any question about this pricing model?
Well,
one more thing I should tell you, disclose. Our in-house costs, we almost fully automatized, so it's not even $5. So yeah, and then it takes about 3 to 5 hours to process the data.
wow. So is that $490 for one test, or is that a subscription?
One digital twin. So if I make your digital twin, then we'll charge $500. Yeah.
So it's per patient, essentially.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Excellent. Let's see. Any other questions from the group? We still have a few minutes left for Sajjan and Predictiv. If anybody has any more questions, any other comments, you can feel free to unmute since we don't have any more questions in the chat. And if not, then
I have some questions. You know, what we are trying to do right now is that we are trying to reach the hospitals, local hospitals, to do the digital clinical trial. And we are talking to the Sibley Hospital and some other hospitals like the UCSF. And so if you have any connection, we would really appreciate connecting to the local hospitals. And we are also talking to the B2B partners in telemedicine in Singapore, India, and Canada. And so if you have any connection to the telemedicine companies, I would appreciate if you could connect us. And EHI company is another business model. You know, instead of do one by one, we want to provide our system as an API. So, and then health insurance company is another point we could make a business deal. And also pediatrics is also another focus, because think about your children's digital twin grow from tiny to the grow, you know, live 100 years together with all the immunization record. I think that would be nice. And also newborn screening nowadays, they check 100 things. Why should you do that? And when you could check all 20,000 genes, and it's a germline, so you only need to do once in a lifetime. I think it totally makes sense to make the digital twin early as when they were born, and concierge medicine practices. So if you have any connections to those people, they'll be nice. I would appreciate that. And then one more thing is the media. I'm thinking I like to talk about this, if possible, TEDx. So if you have any connection to TEDx people, I really appreciate it, because in order to reduce the mortality of the people nowadays, you know, yes, I was like that too. I was looking for the cool technology, genetic surgery. Yes, I've been doing that for 5 years. I was doing the histone modification to guide the sgRNA into the right place. But by doing the cool technology, I mean, over the history of medicine, the technology saved the most lives was not penicillin, not surgical technique, but separating the ward from the intensive care unit. So those one intervention, simple thing, changed the, saved the most lives. So what we like to do is that, we like to save the lives of those could be saved, preventable diseases. So so what I like to do is I want to talk to the more broader audience that, let's focus our effort to put our focus on the preventing the preventable death. I think that's my point.
And Sajjan, we do have a couple extra questions. We'll have time maybe just for one more though. Christopher College asks, how many tests do you run for that $490? There are more tests every day.
No, that test is done for 20,000 genes. Test is already done. We automatize everything. So you only retrieve whenever you need it. So let's say you have today you have a nose, you just click, write down runny nose, and then similar, that runny nose related genetic background will pop up. Or if you want to check any genetic test, it's done already. So it's all done.
For the 20,000 genes that you can synthesize, right, and run your algorithm against, you essentially have all the tests that you would need for those 20,000 genes. Is that right?
Yeah, we analyzed all the 20,000 genes all the humans have. So that's like a Google approach rather than Yahoo approach. Yeah.
Try to ask that question a little differently. When you're running a full genome sequencing, you have all the data, but then to actually run individual tests against different disease states, most of those tests are actually either patented, some are open source, but it costs money, it costs time to then try to run those tests and to then certify them with a clinician that says, yes, you have this tendency towards this disease state. You can't do that for every test that's out there because every test there's new tests every day, 2 or 3 new tests every day. Many of them are patented, and then they're also very expensive to have a clinician sit down and look at it. So what is it that you're actually doing with the sequenced genome?
What we are actually doing is we let them know what genetic variants you have. So that genetic mutations is associated with certain diseases according to the published literature. We put it in our database. So we are just presenting them, providing the information of your own genetics, entire genome. We are not
Thank you. That clarifies it.
Asking anything, yeah.
Have you talked to Helix?
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 Helix. No, I would appreciate if you could introduce us to, yeah.
So they're working with Hopkins with the hospital system, and they are the ones that are creating the sequencing database to be able to store every genome that's sequenced through the Hopkins hospital systems. So Dwight Rahm, who runs IT for Hopkins, has hired Helix to do that, and they're planning on storing every genome that's run from now on. So, and they're one of only 3 hospital systems in the whole country that are actually going to be storing full genome sequencing. So you've got one right in your back door, which would really be a great partner for you. I'm glad to make that introduction.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, great job, Sajjan and Predictiv. We were all clapping for you. I think there may have been a couple more questions, but we just don't have time. So Sajjan, look at the chat. You're free to answer any of the other questions that pop up there. I believe you can also direct them to individual people if you want privately. So up next, we will meet Patrick Hallis from LAINA Pro, which is an Eldersburg-based legal artificial intelligence startup. And I'm excited to hear more about LAINA Pro. So Patrick, go ahead and share your screen and take it away. and you might need to unmute. I don't know if we can hear you yet.
Oh, sorry, can you hear me now?
Yep, you're good to go.
Awesome, thank you. Hi, my name is Patrick Hallis, and I'm the co-founder of LAINA Pro. Today, I'm here to talk with you about the democratization of the law and the $9 billion opportunity it represents. While overseas in the Army Special Forces, as well as in the Peace Corps, I saw how lack of access to law impacts societies. Years later, as I rose through the ranks to become a corporate partner at a large law firm, I realized that tens of millions of small businesses in the United States were similarly being ignored. They frequently sign confidentiality agreements or accept terms and conditions or other contracts, but most can't afford to have a lawyer at $300 an hour spend 2 weeks reviewing every contract. There is no third option, so they wing it. They're probably agreeing to a lot of things they shouldn't be without even knowing the risk. And I get it. In my personal life, I do the exact same thing, but it's much more significant for a small business. For example, overly broad warranties or no cap on liability can crush a small business when something goes wrong with its product. Well, now there's LAINA Pro. LAINA Pro is an AI-driven solution enabling businesses to assess whether contract terms are good or bad and then automatically improve the bad ones. LAINA Pro combines AI and machine learning contract term analysis with big data in the form of contracts and a hefty dose of legal insight. The result is a tool that enables businesses to assess contract terms and make changes in at least 99.8% less time than an attorney working alone and at least 95% less cost than an attorney. It's available at their fingertips 24/7 and understandable by just about any business person. It is a game changer for small business owners. We're targeting the 30 million small businesses in the United States. Our total available market is approximately $9 billion, and our serviceable addressable market is estimated at $1.3 billion. Now, this is LAINA Pro in action. It shows a non-disclosure agreement that's already been analyzed by the software, which takes about 2 minutes. The software uses a stoplight color code approach to assess the risk. Red is bad, yellow is neutral, and green is good. To improve a red or bad term, you just slide the bar on the left side of the screen from red over to the green. And the software automatically improves the sentence for you. And since these terms can be a bit thick, the I on the right side of the screen tells you the purpose of each sentence in the contract. Now, to give you a better sense for what this is doing, here's a short clip showing the assessment and revision of a single sentence, which is a bad contract term. All right, well, it looks like it's not working right now. So we'll skip that part. We started our marketing campaign in October 2020. Our initial channels are Facebook and YouTube. We're using both content-based and more direct advertisements. The content-based advertisements are quirky, hopefully funny videos about 1 minute to 1.5 minutes long on a specific legal topic. Now, I've got a 25-second or so clip from one of them, and we'll see if this is able to work. All right, looks like this isn't working. Well, we see our marketing path falling into 3 stages. Using weekly A/B marketing tests, we've had significant success with the first stage, which is namely engaging business audiences with our videos to create brand awareness. We've had moderate success with the second stage, which is funneling them to our website to learn more about our specific solution. Our focus now is on the third stage, which is encouraging potential customers to try out our software. We're beta testing our software on non-disclosure agreements. We've also begun duplicating the platform structure to analyze the next type of contract, namely purchase agreements, and with opportunities for future growth. LAINA Pro was designed by Steve Hallis and me. Steve is the tech guy. He has over 30 years of IT management experience in Fortune 500 and middle market companies. As you probably guessed, I'm the legal guy. I'm a former Big Law corporate partner and a former Green Beret. We've assigned our relevant IP to the company, including rights to a pending patent. Now, our current biggest challenge is getting users to sign up and try out the software. Secondly, to a lesser extent, we're also considering how to both introduce this new solution into the marketplace, since most folks aren't even aware they exist, and also promote our particular solution. And then thirdly, we're considering whether to pull back a bit from our marketing efforts in order to spend more resources on developing what we anticipate to be a more popular product, and that is focusing on analysis of purchase agreements. I welcome your advice on how to tackle these challenges. LAINA Pro is the future of contract review. Let me know if you're interested in learning more about the democratization of the law. Thanks for your time and your feedback on the current business challenges. And maybe what I'll do is I'll exit the shared screen and then see if I could play just the 2 short clips which weren't working in this full screen mode. Just 1 second.
That's fine, Patrick. Thank you very much. And you're at time anyway, but feel free to try to do those quick clips.
Okay, gotcha. Oh, sorry, it looks like you can't play the media. So you might just have to skip that for now.
No problem. Do you have the file in your?
I do have the files, so maybe I can.
How about you try to fish that out if you can while we start talking about some questions here.
Sounds great. Thank you.
The community, yes, and thank you very much, Patrick. You did a great job. Very, very succinct. Let's see. Tamar Osterman from Maryland Economic Development asks, do you have any intellectual property? And notes that it's usually difficult for software patents to get approved. I did hear you mention at the end of your presentation something about IP and a patent pending, right?
Yeah, so we've got trade secrets, and then we also have this pending patent that we filed. We had started out with a provisional patent application, and then we moved into a more normal patent application. I anticipate that's going to take another 18 months to 2 years to kind of work its way through the system. The USPTO was less kind towards software for a while. For a while, they were very friendly towards it. Then they got much less kind, and then in the past couple of years, they've been more willing to entertain some of it. So we do have that application out there, and we're confident that we're going to get that patent issued in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I can actually speak from experience. I got caught in that after Alice trap for, it was like a 4-year process. So it took 7 years for my patent to go through. But eventually it did. It was a software patent once they kind of eased up the after Alice restrictions. All right, let's see. Next question is from Tina Thomas at Infinite Love Project. How does this differ from competitors like Rocket Lawyer?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So right now what you have is you got attorneys, a normal law firm that you could go to, right? And it's a human, and they usually do a pretty good job. They tend to be quite expensive and a bit slow, right? And then you had some development of companies like LegalZoom, Rocket Lawyer. Those ones either give you a form, or they take some of your information that you put in and then they stick it into your form, and then they give you the form, right? LAINA Pro is different from all of those, because now there's a lot of forms on the internet that you can get for free, frankly, right? And some of them are kind of shoddy, some of them are okay, it just varies. What we do is, if you have a form or you get the other party's form of agreement, a lot of times people don't know whether it's good or bad. And so they'll try to read it themselves, or sometimes they'll go to an outside counsel or their in-house attorneys. But the in-house attorneys tend to be super busy. And so, or they might not have the expertise on this particular type of contract, right? And so what we have is this tool that helps you to analyze the thing that you already have, your own, from somebody else, whatever it is. And so it'll color code every sentence in the contract with a red, yellow, green type of stoplight approach, red being bad, yellow being neutral, green being good. And then you use that slider bar on the left to just move the stoplight, if you will, from red to green, let's say, or red to yellow. And then the software automatically changes the sentence to be in a more favorable way for you than what it was before. There are some other software startups. There's one called LawGeeks. There's a handful of others who are also in this space. But what they tend to do is both very different from a how do they do it and the functionality of what they can do and who they can target. So LawGeeks, for example, they have a really great algorithm that they use, but it's only applicable for very, very large companies that have thousands of contracts of the same type. And it's very comparatively expensive. And it can't revise the sentence. It can just say, okay, in-house lawyer, put in the left and right limits of what you think is too much for this type of contract for this particular sentence. And then they'll run it through their algorithm and they'll spit out, oh, okay, yeah, this one was too much. So it's not really very user-friendly if you just have a contract or a handful of contracts, or you don't have the legal expertise to be able to say, let me set the left and right limits, or you want to be able to revise it.
Thank you. We have a question from Christopher College at TCP Venture Capital. He asks, how do you protect yourself if the software misses an important term in a contract and the client is harmed?
Yeah, sure. No, that's a great point.
Also,
So,
Patrick, we lost our video, so we're not seeing you anymore, just so you know.
okay, gotcha. So I'll put it back on the video, and then I'll answer the question. And then I did find at least the 12-second clip if you want to just see the software in action and see if that works a little bit better. So if the software misses an important term. So right now, there's a handful of safeguards, if you will, right? So right now, we're still more in a beta version of it. We protect ourselves on the first level because it's only with businesses. We don't have any consumer customers, right? And then two, for the businesses themselves, the accuracy of our AI is quite good, to be honest. We've been working on it for a few years, and given the way we structure the data that goes into the algorithm, the accuracy has gotten quite good. And then another level is through the terms that folks agree to, because we're not providing legal advice, we're providing a tool to help folks assess their software. Maybe it's going to be their in-house counsel who's going to use it, or maybe it's going to be a business owner who's going to use it. And the terms themselves limit the remedies of folks. And, we're quite honest, if you're looking for somebody who you want to go after, their very large insurance policy, well, you could pay $10,000 to have them work on your contract. Now, are you actually going to be able to tap into that insurance policy? No, not really, because it almost never gets paid out. But from a liability of limitation perspective, we address it both through accuracy and the terms. And then the third piece, which we're still building, is a network of attorneys who will then provide 15 minutes of free counsel per contract that gets analyzed. So if you have a question about it, you can go to that attorney and say, oh, I wanted to know more about this term. And then so you do get that human-to-human contact. So I'm just going to try sharing my screen one more time. Let's see if I can get this to work. It wouldn't work over Zoom previously, but maybe that was because it was in the presentation itself.
And I can vamp about our mugs while you're doing that.
So at this point, this is a sentence that's already been put in. It got analyzed and it was pink, so there's actually 5 levels. And then when you click the apply favorability changes, you can see over on the left-hand side here.
We're not seeing it, Patrick. You didn't share the screen yet.
Oh, apologies. Thank you. So we've selected the contract, ran it through. It came out pink, which is bad for you. Now that you move the slider bar to dark green, which is very good for you, and then you apply the favorability changes, and then that automatically changed the sentence. So in this case, the sentence previously required that, you know, if it's confidential information is in written form, this is for a confidentiality agreement, that you had to stamp it with confidential. And this was pink, so dark red is very bad, red is bad, yellow is neutral, light green is good, and dark green is very good. Reason this is bad is because people forget to stamp it or whatever else, and then you don't have protecting your information. So then when you move the slider bar to the right and you click apply favorability changes, it automatically changes the sentence. And this you can see now is it's treated as confidential regardless of format and regardless of whether you stamp it as confidential. So that's very good for you because now it's going to encompass a wide variety of information regardless of whether you stamp it.
Excellent. Now, that was a video. Do you actually have a live demo then of that product to, like, could you have gone to a browser and shown us the same thing?
Yes, I absolutely could. So you can go to lainapro.com right now and create an account, upload an NDA, whether your own or you just pull one from the internet, and you can try it out for free because, again, it's the beta version of it. That was just because the 12-second clip is a lot faster. But yeah, it's available now. Right now it only works for non-disclosure agreements, and then we're looking at now going to purchase agreements and terms and conditions and other types of contracts duplicating the same platform structure.
Very cool. All right, going back to the questions. Rick Leinbach from Startup Portal asks, what is your pricing model?
Sure. Thank you for your question. So it's $20 per contract review. So someone uploads a contract, they run it through the system. It takes about 2 minutes. Then they can see right away which terms are good or bad for you, right? You could also have a separate box which has the commercial terms. Okay, what's the length of the contract? What's the pricing? Because that I can't necessarily tell you whether it's good or bad, right? But then you can focus on it. So that will cost you $20, and included within that is the revision because you move and you change the bad terms as you like. So that's $20. And then if folks want, there's also a subscription model, which is going to be based on more of a flat fee. And then once you get over a certain number of uses, then you pay by the use.
And we have another great question from Jonathan Wheatman, attorney at law and from the Entrepreneur Store, who asks, well, does your algorithm take into account which party is reviewing the contract, because a red term for one could be a green term for the other?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you very much for pointing that out. It's an excellent point. So when you create the account and then you go to analyze your contract, it will ask you, are you the party disclosing information? Or are you the party receiving information? Or if it's a purchase agreement, it's going to say, are you the buyer or the seller? Because depending on which hat you're wearing, it's going to be good or bad for you, right? And so it's 100% dependent on which side are you sitting on. And then the software automatically says, oh, because you're wearing that hat, that's going to be a green for you. It's going to be a red for you.
And I would imagine certainly there are instances, perhaps more often than not, where improving the language is better for both parties, like in that confidential stamp example that you showed.
Yeah, and it really depends. If it's a mutual non-disclosure agreement, then parties may or may not want to do it. But if you're the party with respect to, say, a non-disclosure agreement, if you're the party disclosing the information, generally speaking, you want to be more protective of you. And the other party, they might be okay with it, but generally speaking, it's worse for them because they have more obligations. They have to worry about more stuff being protected.
Excellent. And you had mentioned your website earlier for people to test it out, and that's lainapro.com. I put it in the chat, LAINAPRO.com, correct?
Yep, that's exactly it. And they're so we've got a little more information about the software, how it works. You'll see that there's that 12-second video on there as well. And then there's also these LP minutes, which are content-based marketing. And I could pull one up now, but it works just the same if folks are particularly interested to look there.
And how did you get the name? What does LAINA stand for?
Sure. So it was the Legal Artificial Intelligence Networking Assistant. which is an awful lot to say. So we shortened it to LAINA Pro. But the key here is it sort of balances this artificial intelligence component with a baseline software component of matching sentences and words and things in it, and then characterizing the data, which gets fed into the AI.
So when you have when the document's been run through your program and it has changed the language, can you export that then as like a Word doc with red lines and comments? Does it track the changes like that for you?
Yeah, so right now you can export it as a Word document. The one piece that we're still working on is the integration with a redlining software component. Now, someone could do it themselves because Microsoft Word has a redlining component built into it anyway. But we're working on integrating it so that it just comes out and you can see what changed.
Yeah, I would imagine that would be very convenient for people to have that change automatically shown as a red line with a comment that explains.
Yep, absolutely.
The change was. Well, if there are no more questions from the community, then what can we do for you? Yes, thank you, Tina. She is reminding me of the question. So you did run through some bullet points about that at the end of your slideshow, but maybe you can recap for us, what we can do as a community for you.
Yeah, sure. And I'll just share my screen with the questions. So the biggest one that we have right now is, so we've been marketing this for about a month and a half using some direct advertisements, come try out our software, and some of this more content-based marketing where it's these minute-to-minute-half videos. And we've had a fair amount of success with them. We've had about 47,000 views of 15 seconds or longer in this past month and a half or so. And the pricing is quite inexpensive. Facebook views it as anything under $1 is good, and ours is 3 cents for a 15-second view. So I think we're hitting the right target as far as that first stage of getting folks interested in our brand generally. Now, the second stage was getting folks to our website. And that we've had success. We've had probably over 500 unique users come to our website because they're interested in it. But the third piece of it is where we're particularly interested in your folks' insights, which is what do we need to do, what are we doing wrong perhaps, to get folks to actually sign up to try out the software? Because clearly there's folks interested in the content-based marketing, and there are folks who are interested in the idea, but I'm not sure if it's still a beta version, so we need to have it be, just the full-on version, or if there's just not a lot of market interest in this particular solution, or it's too new because, if you ask the average business owner, they've never heard of anything like this, or something else. I'm not sure, or they want to have that network of attorneys that they can talk to somebody about first. I'm not sure where our flaw is. Or maybe it's too early, I don't know. But I would really welcome your folks' insight on that point.
And people are welcome to unmute to kind of respond to some of those questions. I mean, I would start by saying that I would think that you might be able to take advantage of the fact that there may be some interest from the media in your analysis of certain high-profile documents. So if you were to, let's say, pick like Apple terms, confidential. I don't know if they even have that, something like that posted, but based on the fact that, if you could actually apply your algorithm to other types of documents that are ones that people come in contact on a regular basis, like terms of use, and then you kind of, you do a press release that says, hey, we looked at the top 5, technology terms of use agreements and found that 3 of them scored poorly, and 2 of them, and these are the ones that scored well and who didn't. That could be something a reporter would pick up on and could write a story about.
Okay, thank you.
And imagine
Are you going
to do that press release for you. Yes.
Are you going to call on people, Graham, or do we just kind of interject?
We can raise hands if you want, but go ahead. Is that Chris? If you could unshare your screen, Patrick, so we can see who's speaking.
Yeah. So Patrick, my thought would be that you really need to get a whole lot of users very inexpensively and you need to get them using the system so you can kind of find your edge cases. So I would actually be letting people use the software for free for the foreseeable future until you get thousands of users, maybe even tens of thousands of users. And when you can get to those types of levels, then what you can do is you can really start to market and sell the value proposition that you're providing all these users for free. But I think it's going to be an uphill climb to get business owners to sign up for anything that they don't have pre-existing knowledge or they don't have a brand name or understand well. So I think spending a lot of money on marketing and sales right now is probably a mistake. I would be spending my money on product, making the product really add value to users. And I'd be trying to get in return for that free usage, marketing recommendations, marketing tidbits or videos that you can then use in the future when the product's really honed and working well.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, no, I thank you for that comment. So right now it's not currently, you don't have to pay to use it. And so that was actually one of the other questions in the list of 3 was, should we focus a little more on developing this for purchase agreements and terms and conditions, because a lot of folks use those. Sometimes folks get NDAs. And the reason for the question is because it'll probably take us, with our limited team, maybe a year or so to develop that. And so that's actually super helpful, because that was one of the things we were trying to wrestle with. Should we continue trying to promote this to see if folks are actually interested in the solution at all, or should we develop this new product, component, which is based on the existing one, and then we see if anybody's interested in it at all?
Have you, have you looked at Cooley Go's document creation engine?
Yep.
It's a pretty good one. It's free, and I think they've done a really good job of marketing it without spending any money. So you might want to look to them for some ideas on how they've marketed it.
Gotcha. Thank you.
What was that resource again, Chris?
The law firm Cooley has a document generation platform for early stage venture capital. It's very much similar to the National Venture Capital Association standard docs, but if you go to their website at Cooley, you can go to their document generation, and they actually give away free the ability to create your early stage startup, create all the documents around it, even the documents for an investment, and they don't charge anything for it. And I've actually demoed it and tried it on a couple of deals that we've looked at, and it works well. But they've then taken that ability for companies to use their documents for free, and they parlay it into, okay, well, then when something comes up that's more complicated, who are you going to ask if you don't know any other law firms anyway? And that's how they kind of try to do new business generation through this Cooley Go free document generation software.
Very cool. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
And so, Patrick, you've got some other comments and suggestions here in the chat box, but we only have 1 minute left and we need to kind of wrap it up. We will send you the chats to both you and Sajang, copies of the full chat, so you guys can have copies of that. So I'm going to kick it over to, well, first of all, thank you, Patrick. You did a great job. And thank you, Sajang, again. Thank you for hanging in as well. Let's kick it over to Val to wrap it up and tell us about next week.
Hey, so thank you everybody for attending again. It's been so nice to see so many repeat faces, and I think we've even got some new participants today. So thank you for that. Again, thank you to Furnace Hills Coffee for sponsoring us. Don't forget to look at the promo code that Graham dropped up in the chat. Also, thank you to Magic, our other community sponsor. Next week, we will be having Robo Trials LLC, and Together We Own It. Join us for our presentations. So I guess we'll see you next week. Same 1MC time, same 1MC channel. Have a good day, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Appreciate it.